Hey, everybody. This is Arthur C. coming to you live from an undisclosed location, and you're watching the Heavy Galaxy Show. Come on now. Well, thanks everyone once again for tuning in. Matt and John are back with you here for another episode of the Heavy Galaxy Show. And on this week's episode, I'd like to welcome our guest from supergroup Legions of Doom. We've got bassist Ron Holzner who joins us today. Ron, greatly appreciate you coming on with us, man. How are you?
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, Ron. Well, Legions of Doom, man, you guys, I know, just played your first show at Reggie's in Chicago, legendary Reggie's there last week, I believe, and you hit
Legion of Metal Fest, which is kind of cool. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Wow, nice, man. Well, yeah, talk about. I mean, that's obviously, I believe, the first show, right, for the band. Was that your guys' first
technically,
time?
Yeah, it's the first show of Legions of Doom. Yes.
Very cool, man. Well, I know you guys. Obviously, you got the European. You know, we were just talking about that a little bit. European. Little stint that you got coming up this summer. You got, appearances scheduled at Hellfest in France, Grass Pop in Belgium. So I guess, man, just tell us how the first show went and how things are going so far leading up to the dates you got scheduled in Europe.
Well, it's a trip. I mean, I was nervous as hell, to tell you the truth. It's like I've played Reggie's dozens of times. I mean, with the Skull and other bands, but it's like when I got there, it's like something was different because it's like, hey, I'm in a new band. You know, it was really weird. The first time we've played without, say, the Skull, without Wagner or any Wagner memorial shows, and this is just all of us representing us, you know. And I was nervous as hell. It's a good feeling. I mean, you got to still be nervous before a show, otherwise you don't care, you know. But everybody, I mean, it went well. Trying to put together a set list, like with Corrosion of Conformity songs and St. Vitus songs and Trouble songs and Skull songs, and it was hard, but people loved it. They didn't really expect us to be doing all of that, and it came across really well. It was well received. Everybody loved it. We felt really good up there on stage. We had a lot of fun, and it's nice to be able to play these songs again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just before we move on, I just want to give a brief overview to our listeners and viewers who may not be aware of who exactly comprises of Legions of Doom. Obviously, Scott Riegers, you got the dual vocalists going on with Scott Riegers from St. Vitus and Karl Agell, obviously ex-COC and Leadfoot vocalist. On drums, you got St. Vitus and Blood of the Suns, Henry Vasquez. And on guitars, you got the Skulls, Lothar Keller, and Leadfoot, Scott Little. So quite the array there of seasoned musicians in the band. Now, you just mentioned, too, about the set list. That was the thing me and John were talking about. How exactly did you go about picking which songs to play? Because you got so much to choose from all these guys and all these bands. Right. So, yeah, tell us how you guys wound up choosing, you have to tell us which songs you choose, but how did you go about selecting? It must have been an
kind of left it in my lap. So I'm kind of like, how could I, because we don't have the singers both sing at both the same time, except at the end. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I want to have like the equal amount of songs for Scott Riegers and equal amount of songs for Karl Agell. Mm-hmm. So it's like, the Blind record is one of my favorite records of all time. That is metal at its best, you know. So playing any of them songs, I'm happy with. So we just picked the ones that we think would fit with this set list. So I think we had 3 in an intro from the Blind record. Then the Vitus songs, I'm like, oh, what would fit as well, you know? And we tried a bunch of different things, and we came up with a nice mixture. You know, it's like something that because we have to think about, okay, I got to give equal time for both singers. We need some slow stuff. We need some fast stuff. It's the hills and valleys of a set, you know, and it was a tough job, but I enjoyed it because it's like, man, I get to play this song, I get to play this song. And then we kind of balance it out. We'll throw some Skull stuff in there. Then I'll pick trouble songs from like the Deaf American era, the albums that I played on.
Mm-hmm.
And it all kind of works out because we're all kind of memorializing like a tribute to all the guys that we played this music with who are no longer with us. You know, not just Eric Wagner, who, you know, sadly passed just recently, and I had Barry Stern that, you know, playing on these the 2 Deaf American with Trouble records, you know, and playing them songs and learning them again and listening. I'm like, God, I miss that guy, you know. So it's like a tribute to him. Then with COC losing Reed Mullen, you know, for Karl. I mean, that record, his drumming on that record is incredible.
Oh yeah.
So we honor him, and we got Armando from St. Vitus, the drummer, and then just recently Mark Adams passed. Yeah. You know, I mean, last week, and Scott was it was hard on Scott. So it's like, this is for our brother Mark, you know. So we're honoring all the guys that we've made music with over the past, and it's a good feeling up there. I mean, the aura of the whole thing is really, really, really positive.
Sure. Now, one name I did read when you guys were starting out, I think I saw that Victor Griffin was originally in. I know the band was supposed to be. Is he? I mean, did that just not work out, or it was just sort of?
Well, me and Victor have been friends for a long time, and we've helped each other out many times. I played on projects of his. He played on stuff of mine, and he played on Eric Wagner's new solo record. He was in the middle of not really doing much, you know, and I'm like going on, hey, you feel like playing Grass Pop and Hellfest and play some, you know, some of our music, and we'll throw in some Pentagram, and you ain't doing nothing, let's do it. And he's like, hell yeah. So he was in, but then Pentagram found out that, hey, Victor Griffith is playing Pentagram songs again. Let's ask him if you'd rather just do that in Pentagram and get paid a lot more money.
That's how it works, yeah.
So my friend Victor is playing in the band he should be playing in, Pentagram songs around the world. You know, I'm happy as hell for him. I mean, it would have been cool, but it's one of them things where he's doing what he should be doing. Like any of these guys, they get asked to go back to the band they're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to do, you know. So that's no big deal. I mean, I'm sure he probably will be ending up jamming with us one day, you know.
I bet.
It's lucky that we got Scott Little from Leadfoot, you know, who played with you know, Karl and Leadfoot.
Yeah.
And we actually did the Blind project years ago. I was playing bass with Reed Mullen on drums, with Karl singing, and Scott on guitar. So we played these Blind songs years ago.
Oh my God.
You know, but I had to go back to Trouble, so I wasn't able to fulfill it, and they actually ended up touring without me, which was a bummer. So I never got the chance to play these songs live, and now I am. So
nice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool, you know.
So what's the scoop? How long of a set? How many songs?
It depends where we're playing, you know. Like when you play festivals, it's kind of limited. I mean, like we played an hour at Reggie's, which I mean we could play 2 hours if they give us the time. And the Hellfest and Grass Pop are 45-minute sets. So it's like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna narrow it down. I was just thinking this morning, like, man, I gotta trim some of this and trim some of this, and then we got a couple headline shows in the Wiesbaden, Germany, and Eindhoven, Holland. So we'll be playing a little bit more. We're gonna add like Leadfoot did a cover of Thin Lizzy, "Gonna Creep Up on You." Great song, you know, and I always loved it when I heard it. I'm like, I'd like to play that one day with these guys, and we're gonna throw that in, and maybe more Vitus, more COC, more, I don't know. We're gonna round it off, you know. Then we get back, we're gonna start working on a new record.
Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
that sounds really cool. And when is Europe? When are you heading over there?
Sunday.
No time soon.
We're getting close,
Wow.
man. That's why I've been up since this morning, going over money and going over
Yeah.
advancing these shows and getting the driver, knowing where we're going and hotels. It's been a long, like I said, it's been a long day. I've been up for probably 10 hours doing shit already.
damn.
Setting up
Happily and go, hey, I'm okay.
You got to set up. You got to set up the weed connections.
Yeah, I don't smoke anymore, but guitar players gotta function. You know? Everybody in your happy frame of mind, and everything works smoothly.
Oh, that's pretty wild. You got 3/5 of the Skull. When I saw the Skull, I actually had you as part of Vegas Rock Revolution show in Vegas at Council Am. And so I met Henry, and I know Lothar, a great guy. I tell you, that's an interesting night that night. We talked a little bit offline beforehand. Great show, like it's just amazing.
Too much whiskey that night. Some of us got a little too frisky.
I was wondering if you remember that.
I do.
Oh my God! Remember
I had to take care. I had to do damage control that night.
Leah Burlington was our photographer. Helping take care of things. A friend of mine.
She's a sweetheart. Yeah, she was amazing.
And
very patient with us.
Yeah, which is rare. But I think she was scared of a couple of you guys. So like probably Henry. But I'll never forget when we were in that. We were back in the green room. Pictures on. There's a picture of me with the band and another dude.
Oh yeah.
And two pictures, but one of Eric looking at me like, "What the fuck is he doing here?" The look he is giving me, it's priceless. He's literally just looking at me. But I mean, the tension, you could cut it with a knife.
Well, it's just
between Henry and Rob.
Henry and the drunken Rob were about to get into a fight right off the stage. It was pretty funny. I'm like, this ought to be interesting, and then I diffused it. Then Henry drank a bunch of whiskey, and it came back, and it's like, hey, let's do band photos. And I'm like, oh no. Everything's fine. Nobody got in fight. No, nothing. It worked out well, it was we got to say hi to Vinny that night. He was there.
Yeah, three people.
I got to see him. He died like 3 days later, man. It was a shame.
I know. It was like he was such a staple of the scene. And when he showed up at 2 of my shows towards the end. And that's when I was like, oh, I felt like I made it something extra. When Vinny decides to show up at one of your shows, because there's shows everywhere all the time. And that was a big night. And I think back to that night, and God, at least 3 people I know have all passed away that were there just that night 4 years ago, whatever, 5 years ago.
Well, it's good to see you. I mean, we did 2
Pantera. Dave Sherman and Earthride.
Oh, yeah, we got to know Vinny very well, touring with Pantera with Trouble. So it was good to see him.
Wait a minute. You toured with Pantera. Okay. I didn't know all
Trouble did. We did 2 tours. Oh, yeah, I knew them guys real well.
That, dude, talk to us about that.
The Dimebag stories. Holy Toledo, man. It's funny because at the time he used to like take it off, and I love taking it off from my band. I didn't want to hang with him anymore. I was kind of mad at him. And on the tour, Dime would poke his head in the dressing room and was like, "Hey, Dad, you want to go out?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." At different times he'd poke his head. "Dad, you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'd always pack a bag just in case. Then also me and him would run out the door and there'd be a limo waiting. I'm like, "Oh no!" And he'd plan adventures for us, whatever city we're in. I'm like, "What are we gonna get into now?" And it was amazing. I mean, like New York, like Manhattan, New York, we took off and we were just driving around and ended up pulling over to Jazz Club. It was right around the corner from Letterman, where Letterman is his theater, or whatever. It was a small little jazz club. We walked in and actually sat in with a jazz band.
Oh, wow.
It was really, really cool.
Nice.
Everybody's like, what the hell? These 2 heavy metal guys. And or we'd go like other nights, we'd go to strip joints or Hooters, and we were somewhere in the Midwest, and it was snow everywhere. We kept throwing 20s at the limo driver, doing donuts in the parking lot. The strip. Before we got in, I'm like, dude,
Wow.
He was the most fun-loving dude you ever meet in your life. He was like a living cartoon character. He knew how to live large, and he was fun to be around. And he left us too soon, man.
Oh my God. One of the biggest tragedies.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about that whole thing is so fucking infuriating and insane, all wrapped up into one. It's just rock and roll is just such a strange history when you go back all these different things over time, from Hendrix to Morrison to Janis to whatever. Now then next thing you know, someone's getting shot on stage. It's just it's insane. And and a legend. Everyone revered this guy like no tomorrow, which has made it interesting. That Pantera back on tour.
Yeah, we're playing with him at Hellfest. Yeah, we play with him at Hellfest. It's going to be cool to see him again.
Interesting. And Phil and Rex still pretty good, or not?
Not so much over the years, because everybody kind of drifted off, But we're brothers, and we see each other. Going to be hugging and kissing and loving on each other, just like it was back in the day. So it's going to be good.
Wow, that's
going to be really good to see him there. I mean, like long lost brothers. It's going to be cool.
And Zach ripping it up on guitar instead, and that's
Zach
cool.
too, man. He's awesome. Known him a long time as well.
Why am I forgetting who's on drums?
Charlie.
Oh, Benanti from Anthrax.
Hey, that great drummer from Anthrax. Hey,
the guy from Anthrax, one of those Italian guys over there.
Yeah. He lives in the suburbs of Chicago, so I see him a lot.
What?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have a really hot girlfriend?
It's the Butcher Baby.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's it. Not Heidi, the other Butcher Baby. Yeah, I just read that. Yeah, Butcher Babies. Butcher Baby, Ronnie.
Ooh.
Now, I mentioned briefly about Earthride, and that must have been an interesting tour as well. And God, I never knew Dave. I didn't know Dave Sherman until soundcheck that night. And I feel like I was his best friend by the other night. I mean, that's
how he is.
Warm soul. Wow.
He's one of the people you just meet the first time, and it's a lifelong friend. I've known him for a long, long time. I mean, goodness, seen him bumping into him all over the world. He was another kind, special soul that we lost too soon. And we're playing this Maryland Doomfest where he'd always be around. It's going to be very strange him not being there.
Oh,
I know. Earthride is a version of Earthride is going to play, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be a sad, melancholy kind of evening.
That will be, because definitely that's a tight knit situation up there in Maryland. I went to Maryland Doomfest 2 or 3 years ago and had my first experience. I got too damn drunk, to be quite honest with you. One night, I was like, God damn. I got to get my ass home. Yeah, because you start kind of early. And, so the food wasn't as prevalent, and you keep drinking and you forget you got to eat. And then,
it helps.
So, people can't understand what you're saying. But Sherman was just so much fun. And he was a big weed smoker. Like, myself, I enjoy some THC products, we'll say. And I just think back, and it was just such a cool night. I have a lot of videos and pictures still to this day. At some point, I'll just put them back out there. And Ronnie, you're looking beefcake in some of these pictures, man. Big boy, This guy's like a Viking meets a something. I don't know what it is, Ron.
I'm just normal size. Everyone else is short, man.
You've got muscles and stuff,
Mark?
too,
Right? Look at Mark. He's normal.
Well, I'm 6'2.5", so
There you go.
But there's a good
picture
of you and me.
What are you going to do about them? They need to eat some more vitamins or something. I don't know.
Matt, how tall are you, Matt?
I'm 6 feet.
Okay, you're probably 5'11", really.
No,
round
really
it up, right? Okay, I'm joking. I always joke around people at 6 because
I know,
you're just rounding it up. I
guess I should say I'm 6'1" then, right? That's what I should do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the football players, they had the 2 inches. On.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
So Matt, ask me something. What's going on with you, man?
Yeah. So I was going to ask you something. I want to ask you. Me and John were talking about before. we had you on, and I brought it up just a second ago about Rick Rubin, working with Rick Rubin. You put out a couple records, I know, with Trouble on American Recordings back late 80s, early 90s, I should say. And everyone we talk to or that really has worked with Rick, they always have like a unique experience with him.
Yeah.
Some people were like, well, he was there for like 2 minutes and we never saw him again. Or some people say, well, he came in and talked to us a little bit and just was there periodically. What was it for you guys with Trouble back then? What was your experience like working with Rick Rubin?
We learned a lot from him. Like I said, Eric and myself wouldn't be able to be producing records like we do now if it wasn't for him. He's got a unique style, but it's all about the feeling. Like when we were doing the first Trouble record, we're doing the rhythms in Sound City, which is, the whole vibe of that place was just incredible. And he would be in the control room, just kind of bebopping up and down to the music. And if he stopped, he'd be like, hey, no, stop. He needed the groove throughout. The whole thing was the feeling about the groove. We played this one song 25 times, recorded it.
Wow.
Until he found the right groove. So it was more about playing the song right. No, it was more about the groove than playing the song right. He had to capture the moment that was in his head, what he felt would be the perfect take. We learned that, and he was there for the whole thing. It's like we weren't around for the mix, we weren't allowed, but the recording, he was there for most of it. He doesn't do like the overdubs and all that, the sounds and all that shit, the miking, but the important part, the meat of it, he was there. And then the second record, he wasn't around as much. That was a little different because he was a little bit bigger and got too much more stuff going on. And I think our egos were running wild and we felt we could do the record better without him. So he wanted to hear all the songs. We played all the songs. We intentionally played them like shit and fucked them all up. And he said, as soon as you guys are ready to record a record, give me a call. And we wanted to start recording the record without him. And he got pissed and then came in and corrected us and fixed what we probably, it would have been a disaster. I think he fixed the situation. But no, he was real easy to work with. He mixing, he's got his hearing, I think, is really damaged because like playbacks, you would play louder than fucking hell, the giant speakers, and it's just like deafening. So I think the high end was kind of blown out of his ears. So that's why he kind of, you hear all the Rubin records, that's the high end is always pushed up. But
yeah.
He just was a strange character. And it's like, that's a while ago, just trying to think of some of the weird stories with him. I'm sure it might pop in my head. Probably tonight in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, man.
Did you go to his mansion?
With us, it was very new. Deaf American was fairly new when we were on there. And it was funny because he, when he was the Good Story, when he was recorded, he was spending time with us. And we said, well, I got my new guy who, like the protege, the young guy he's training. I got him working on some hick band from Atlanta. I'm gonna be working with you guys, and end up that hick band from Atlanta was the Black Crows.
Black Crows, yeah.
The record started selling. Also, he put the brakes on and remixed some stuff, threw some horns on it, and put executive producer on it. It was pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
We used to call him the Rube. He was just like essence. You just like float in like an apparition, and there he was.
Yeah. Well, I know he's come out and he said that he doesn't really know much about music. And this is like recently, I think I read some interview. He was saying that I don't really know a lot about music. It's just like you were kind of alluding to. It was more about he just kind of sits there and meditates and more goes for what he's feeling or tries to. You said
all
right?
about feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely.
It's like with any music, it's simple. It's been since the early times when people dance to music. If you can't tap your foot to it, you can't move to it, it's not going to be good. I mean, you need to be able to like headbang or tap your foot, dance. Yeah. You need that for the human condition to accept it and overall, make everybody happy with your music. That's just, he has the key to it. He knows, man.
Yeah.
Did you
no.
get to go to his mansion?
No. Wagner did. I'm not wasn't into that. You know, I was always in the back room doing coke with all the celebrities, not going to their house.
Oh, okay.
The
I mean,
rainbow and shit like that. I I got a lot of stories. I'll get a lot of people in trouble. I can't put shit in the book. Kind of like with Geezer Butler's new book, saying all the stuff they made him take out. It's pretty funny. I can imagine.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, think too, Ron. Like, when I think of today, like these days, we're seeing with a lot of young bands, we're seeing really, they have that similar style and sound that Trouble, had in the '80s. That Sabbath, oriented, doing metal metallic sound. But when you think back to the '80s, in those days, like I know when you on the first record, Trouble record, I believe you on Run to the Lake, correct? You
Yes.
played on that one, yeah. So that was still in the '80s, and a lot of obviously the '80s was a decade of speed. Everything was fast and up tempo, and it was bands like Trouble and Saint Vitus and Pentagram that were really sort of carrying that Sabbath torch at that time when everyone was sort of like, they were sort of abandoning the more mid to slow tempo stuff. Now, I mean, talk a little bit about those days for you guys in the '80s when, really, like I said, that sound wasn't. I mean, you guys were, you're doing well, but like I said, it was a tough decade, I would think, for having that sound when everything else, whether it was on MTV or radio, whatever, was all about up tempo and speed, and not just obviously speed. More in more ways than one, it was about speed. The '80s, as we know. So
If you're with Lemmy, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about that. I mean, how did you guys sort of? Did you feel like you were kind of on an island by yourself doing all that stuff?
The thing is, we're like one of the bands where we had different influences and we just kind of did our thing. Like Chicago's a little different than like New York and LA or the West Coast. We just kind of do our thing and the middle finger to everybody else. So we just like, we're not going to follow trends. We're just going to be ourselves. And we just did what we did, and they recorded us and put it out. And by the time we got out to LA and saw what was going on, I was like, "Look at what the hell is this?" It was. I remember the cops pulled us over, and just because we looked so different, like, what is up with you guys? Because we didn't belong walking down the strip because we're just like holy. We look like the Ramones with leather jackets, holy jeans, and like everyone else is the spandex and fucking hairspray and shit. We were part of that, and all the bands are cool to us. They all, for some reason, by doing what we did, resonated with the whole punk community. Really dug what we were doing. All of the hair metal bands liked us. I mean, everybody. If all the people who liked us and dug what we were doing bought our records, we'd be the ones with the mansion. But we weren't. It was one of them things where the people wanted the hair metal, and we just weren't that commercial success like all these other bands who were what they're doing, but they admired what we were doing. So it was pretty fun. I mean, we were friends with Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Soundgarden, everybody. They loved us,
Yeah.
But we just weren't lucky to fall into the boat that they did. It's one of them things.
Sure.
I'm not bitter. It's just luck of the draw. I had a good career. I'm happy.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm going to bring up real quick.
It was tough. They wanted us, to pretty ourselves up, and we're like, no, you ain't gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring just a clip up here for you just to see real quick. This is my late friend Bob Nalbany put out a documentary called Inside Metal, and this is not a lot of people I don't think know about this. Speaking of St. Vitus and Armando and Mark, Don Dokken, and I don't know if a lot of people know, he actually produced the St. Vitus record. COD, right? In the early '90s. So this is him. This is just an, I guess an example of what that you were just kind of talking about real quick. I'm just going to bring this up. Check it out here.
Vitus was like Sabbath on 16.
Yeah.
The songs were like 12 minutes long, and there was only like 3 verses.
Yeah.
And it was just dun 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 dun. That would go on forever.
Right.
But for them, I told them, I said, look, I think you guys should do a couple songs a little more up tempo. Doom do daddle doom do daddle doom 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 do doom, like Sabbath did, a couple up tempo songs. Okay, they wrote a song. They came in and we got an up tempo song. It goes like this: dun 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 da 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 da. Well, it's a lot faster than other songs, but these guys were all major potheads.
Right.
I mean, it was just massive pot smoking. I mean, Armando was just stoned his whole life.
Right. So, I mean, was that, I guess, would you agree with Don? Was it just, let's put it this way, did a lot of it have to do with
That
you
just
guys
reminds me
being
of
smart?
that little thing that he hummed there, the do. They took that riff and made it into a song on their last record.
Really?
I
Okay.
swear to God, they laughed at that interview so much. They're like, "Let's make a song out of that."
No
did.
way.
I'm just like going, ugh.
Geez.
St. Vitus is a different breed, man. I
Yeah.
think that Dokken stole a couple of their amps or something crazy back then. They had a rehearsal place right next door,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the reason why he agreed to produce that record.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to have anything to do with it. He didn't want his name on it, But then Vitus did somewhat fairly well. Then also he backtracked and
Now he wants to.
yeah, that's me. I did everything on it. I was like,
Sure.
stop it. But yeah, that the thing that he just hummed right there, they made a song out of that. Just
Wow.
laughingly, like, oh, let's write a song like what he just hummed.
That's
telling you
so-
them guys, but no, they got. I mean, they had some fast stuff, but at that time, they just did that to aggravate Doc, and Chandler hated the fact that some hair metal poser was producing his record.
Mm-hmm.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
They're a different breed, man. That the whole history of them is like, wow. It's
I mean, Wino was in there for a little bit, even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Wino, last time I saw you and the guys was in Austin, Texas, for what I believe was Eric's last show. Even
it was,
and you guys were on tour. And I remember when Wino told me about the tour, I'm like, that is such an amazing pairing of just legends. Like,
we had the same
they're
booking
the
agent.
Legends of Doom. I mean, it was just amazing.
Same booking agent, and they're like, this would be really cool. So we're like, yeah, why not? And we did it, and that was our last show, and the next day was a day off, and Eric's like, I don't feel well, and that was the tour continued to the east, I think going to New Orleans and I think Atlanta or something like that. He's like, dude, I'm not gonna make it under that, we need to cancel a couple shows. I'm like, well, we're not gonna drive to Raleigh from Texas, so we just, because he was sick, we didn't know how bad it was gonna get, but yeah, the tour was doing really well. I mean, it was we've known Wino forever. I mean, Henry's played in 2 different Wino bands.
Yeah.
He was in Spirit Caravan for a long time. But
that's right. Yeah.
Brothers in Doom, man.
Yeah. It was amazing. I one thing I remember about that night is probably 3 songs into your set, and that's a pretty small stage for you guys at the Lost Well. It's not the biggest thing in the world. But I remember Eric walking off the stage, like literally like the 3rd song, and you guys go into some instrumental thing, and he comes over next to me at the bar. He just kind of leans against it and starts getting a drink. And it was there for you guys played for 5 minutes without he's just doing his thing.
It was a song that I wrote we wrote for on the one record, and I wrote this middle section that I wanted to give us a chance to have a little jam thing in the middle. I wrote this whole middle section that we could extend it. And Eric, getting older, he said, I need a piss break. It's like, hey, put a good piss break at 3/4 of the set. I'm like, so we would go into a jam, and he'd wander off, go take a leak, and not come back. He'd hang out in the crowd talking to people.
That's kind of what he was doing.
And it's like we had to keep jamming until he ended up coming back to the stage. It was pretty funny, But that last tour, we ended up playing that song. I think early in the set, it was like
really early. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget. He ordered some. It took him a while to conversate with the bartender girl because it wasn't that easy to hear because literally his stage is like 15 feet away from the corner bar where I'm at, and he gets his drink and all that or something, and then some dude comes up to him. I'm just sitting right. I mean, I'm standing. Oh, Eric, how you doing? Oh, all right, you doing? Sounds good. And this guy comes up and taps him, and he's like, "Hey, man, you know, we're all waiting for you to be on that stage. And the guy was kind of bigger too. And Eric just kind of looked up, and I just kept looking at them, and then I look at the stage like this is fucking the wildest shit. I've been a lot of shows, Ron and Matt, lots. But this is
over years, we just got used to it. We could play a short jam, or we could do a long jam. It was whenever he decided to show up,
Yeah. Well,
like,
those are singers for you. And Eric's voice sounded great till the very end, even. So it was. I look back at that night.
He sounded good that tour. He really did.
Yeah, Billy Goat from Doomed and Stone actually recorded most of that show, even, and it's out and about somewhere. So, the last grand show, we'll say, of that era. What an amazing stuff you guys did with the Skull. So congratulations on that.
One day.
Huh?
I'd love to hear it one day.
Oh, yeah. I'll see if I can get him to send me something over. I'll get some to you.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned about new material. So talk to us a little bit about that. And how would that happen?
Well, we wrote probably 5, maybe 6 songs with Eric. So we got actually, 5 songs with lyrics that he wrote that haven't been heard yet. So we're going to have Scotty and Karl sing Eric's lyrics to these songs. And we wrote a couple more that he didn't get a chance to even do any lyrics to, that he was working on a solo record. So I think we got one more to write. So we're just about done writing a record. So we just got to distribute the lyrics for each Scotty and Karl, and then we'll come up with the melodies, and I think we'll start recording this summer. It should be fairly quick. I mean, we got everything we need. We got the songs, we just got to tweak them, and we got this one song. Eric sent me this acoustic song with him singing, and I was just like, he did it every record. He'd always throw this acoustic thing at me. Hey, make it heavy. I'm like, can't make an acoustic song heavy. We got our own songs we're writing, and we just always kind of blew it off. But this one he sent, where he recorded him singing and playing guitar, and it's like, wow. And then he sent the vocals with it, which the lyrics, which were different, which I never noticed till just recently when I was like going back and listening to all our new stuff. And I got the file from his son, who sent me from Eric's computer. After he died, he got the computer from his dad, and I've been waiting. I said, whenever you get the lyrics, please, I'd really like to get them so we can finish these songs. And he sent me the catalog of the songs that for the new record, and it's one song I never heard before, the title. That every song Eric wrote, he would send me the title. Hey, this is what I'm working on now, and this one I never heard before. So it was very strange that I get sent some lyrics that I've never heard from Eric. And then I look at it, it sounds familiar, and I matched it to that acoustic song he sent me, like he knew, like he was just messing with me, So he prepared it. I was going to use it. Here's the lyrics with the actual name, and it blew my mind. So we're gonna play the music around it, the drums, bass, and guitar, and add to it and layer it. So there won't be one song with Eric singing on a new record.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we'll probably come up with a nice groovy Pink Floyd-ish middle section, kind of like Misery Shows on Trouble, Misery Shows Act 2. It'd be something like that. So I'm looking forward to working on that. But we got enough for the new record. It was going to be the last Skull record, but it wasn't a full Skull record. And now we're doing the Legion of Doom, which is basically the Skull with one extra guy. It's bizarre. We do Skull. We're still doing Skull shows. People keep booking us for the Skull with Karl Agell singing. It's 90% Skull songs, and we just add a little more. But like we're the Legion of Doom, we're doing all the other stuff. So it's gonna be
that's cool. You got it.
It's gonna be a Skull record and a Legion of Doom record.
Oh, there is. Okay, so original music from both. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Are you labeled up and all that stuff?
Yeah, TP Records, who did the Skull record. We're still with them. It's family, so we're sticking.
Kenny's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to do a flash for the past of an album you're involved with, Earth and Grave.
Yeah.
What? Talk to us about this.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I actually, it was a time when I was retired. I was just fed up with the whole industry, the business, and all that stuff. And this local DJ, Scott Davidson, who Rebel Radio here in Chicago, actually plays drums. I've known him forever as well. Him and his guitar player came up and said, hey, let's start a doom band. You know, like, I don't want to do this shit again, man. You know, so I end up working with him, and I go, as long as I could produce it and we'll write all the songs together, I'll do it. You know, and we did it. We got Tony Spillman, who plays in a band called Spillage right now. And he was like one of the original Trouble roadies, so I've known him forever. And then we got one of the most talented classical violinists in the world, Rachel Barton Pine, on electric violin, who never played electric violin. She wanted to try it, but always wanted to play metal. You know, I'd always see her at the metal concerts playing like, you know, the Cowboys from Hell on violin and Metallica and Slayer and shit. It was like, this chick is fucking cool. You know, she always wanted to play metal, but she's at the top of the classical world. It's amazing. So we did a doom rock record, you know, it's and an EP. We Ripple put it out.
Yeah,
it's one of the things where just the timing of it. Rachel was touring the world all the time, and I start doing other things. And our guitar player, who I started this project with, ended up moving to Texas, and we switched drummers. So it just kind of just.
Who was on vocals?
Oh, Mark Weiner, the Chicago. Total Chicago guy. You don't get more Chicago than this guy. He could belt it out with the best of them. And he actually he just rang me the other day, say, hey, I got some more material, man. I'd like to, you know, work on stuff if you want to do something, you know. So
has he sang?
I'm sorry.
Has he? I'm sorry. Has he sang with like other bands?
He sang in Spillage with Tony Spillman for a while. He's been doing stuff, you know. He's a worker. He's got the family to support, but I mean, he is like the weekend warrior, and he wants to do more, and he wants to perform again. And we got festivals asking us, "Hey, put Earth and Grave back together." So I'm like, I'm busy, man. So you never know. They got the fire lit, and it may happen. You know, I'd love to see all these people and play music with them again. That's for sure. Yeah.
You know, you brought up Chicago, and that's something I've been wanting to ask you a couple things about Chicago. First off, White Sox or Cubs?
White Sox.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Another team.
Yeah.
I grew up in Wrigleyville. That's why I'm a Sox fan. If you ever grew up with Cubs fans, man, you would probably would have hung yourself.
No.
I always think Chicago fans are great, man. They're like the coolest fans.
Cubs fans didn't take baseball serious for years. And you know what I mean?
They gave me grief. They gave me grief for being a Sox fan. I just was always the black sheep. I want to do something different, you know. I mean, growing up in Chicago, I'm an Oakland Raider fan too. So they gave me all about that. So I grew up with bikers and shit like that, and people who broke shit and did nasty stuff, and it kind of like just.
But you lived in Wrigleyville.
I'm sorry.
But you grew up in Wrigleyville. You said
near Wrigleyville. Yeah. Walking distance from Wrigley. I used to go all the time. I was a baseball fan, but I just didn't like Cubs fans.
Let's go to Cubby Bear.
Oh, I drank there many times. I saw Frank Marino and Rush there.
Wow.
Rockwind. There's some good bands played
there.
TRI.
Now, talk to us about, you know, I always ask this question. What was like your favorite band or two your senior year of high school?
Always Sabbath and Priest. Those two are, you know, and Slayer. Them three are great. But no, I used to listen to progressive rock in high school. You know, Genesis and King Crimson, and yes, I loved it. You know, but thing is, my what's close to my heart is Motown. As I was a kid, and it always there. And Grand Funk. It's like I was the youngest of the family, so my older brothers would play. I'd hear Motown and Grand Funk Railroad. So to me, it's like that's what life is about.
What year did you graduate high school?
83.
Okay. All right. So you're just before I got into high school. Interesting. and so you're right. You know, Sabbath, Dio or Ozzy, or both?
Both for sure. Dio is a sweetheart. I met him many times. We actually toured with Dio in Europe before. So it was yeah, he was a sweetheart. He was one of the
Oh,
nicest guys in metal, man. He remembered everybody's names and people. It's like
that's
he
right
was
here.
a freak of nature, man.
Yeah, that's another big loss. And I saw him front row, and that was pretty magical. The first time I saw Dio, guess what? Dokken was opening up. How the whole world goes around. And so talk to us about being in Chicago. Like, what was it like scene-wise? I mean, I think outsiders, we don't always get it, but we see stuff coming out, but it's kind of marching to its own tune at times, like you said. Talk to us about what it was like as you guys being a band at that time in Chicago, and what was going on, what other bands, stuff like that.
Oh, man, it's just we just always had a chip on our show. Like, they'd always call us the second city, and it felt like people looked at it like, okay, there's a big city surrounded by hundreds of miles of farms, which I guess is kind of right, but
most cities are like that. I mean,
most cities are like that, but I mean, Styx and Ario were pretty big here at the time. They were playing like the high schools and the smaller clubs, and Cheap Trick. I mean, there was a lot of bands from this area that got pretty big. I mean, Kansas would always come up here, and like in the 70s and 80s, and we had this. It was a definite place for every band to play. And you get these crazy like European mixtures, like you'd be like AC/DC, Boston, Foghat, thrown together on festival shows at Rush. And it was a very good rock and roll town. You can see how UFO, I mean, they could have ran for mayor and they would have won here. Everybody loved that band and still do.
Yeah, I always said, with Chicago, because it wasn't on the coasts and it wasn't the media capital like LA and New York, because most bands, especially in the 80s, right? If you were a band, if you weren't from either of those cities, you'd move there to get discovered. And a lot of times, and me and John were talking about before, we had John here about Chicago, and I was saying, there's just so many great bands out of there, but it's like people find out about them later. Not a lot of times, like even like a band like Trouble. I mean, you guys have gotten just that band has gotten bigger and bigger as the years goes on because more people are discovering them.
Right.
Where back then it was just, just Midwest bands in general, I think a lot of times always got overlooked because they weren't in those media capitals where everybody was moving to get signed by those labels, and I think that was just unfortunately a disadvantage for Chicago because you're saying it is such a great rock town. I've been there. It's one of my favorite cities, Chicago. And it's just, it bleeds rock and roll. And I think a lot of people don't know that, I think they're just not aware of that, I mean,
a lot of the blue collar cities, Cleveland and all of that, when the industry was going, it was Detroit. I mean, the places to play in the 70s and 80s. And then when the industry started dying out, the money did too. And it kind of, Chicago kept its own. I mean, we're a lot bigger than all them other cities. So it's a must stop for all bands. And we're just love to lose our minds for anything. Our sports teams have always been bad, or they were. So it's okay to celebrate something,
Well, Bulls certainly made up for things.
Everybody, I mean, the Bears, they won one finally in the 80s, and everybody won. The Sox won, and which was great because all the Cubs fans were pissed.
They beat them.
And they luckily won, and it just kind of evened out. And
it's so I had no idea REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, they're from Southern Illinois. They're from, I think, from Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, down there at U of I. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Cheap Trick's Rockford, right?
Yeah, Rockford.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Ministry is Chicago, I believe, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep.
And at that, and I think that it's interesting is it feels like there's an industrial kind of vibe on some Chicago has a little bit of an influence on that, obviously, with Ministry being one of the biggest. Did you ever get into that scene and check that stuff out as well? You're more metal and rock?
Well, Al was a drunken idiot. I mean, he threw one beer bottle, almost hit me because he was throwing a fit, and I almost beat the fuck out of him. And after
because you're a lot bigger
got
than him.
Along, and it's like You know, the chicks with shit in their face is kind of cute, but he just looks like he fell on a flight of stairs. It's kind of just go away.
I didn't know he was going to get this.
Never really into heroin and the whole thing. It's like that music, and I know people who played with them, and I just never into it. You know,
Yeah.
I got into metal. I mean, real metal. That was just I wasn't into that. No.
What did you think when thrash first started really kicking in?
Thrash?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love it. High school. It's like my buddy when he played me Except when he played Fast as a Shark.
Fast as a Shark.
I was like, what is this? You know, because we didn't know we had we were all listening to AC/DC and Motorhead, and Motorhead was the fastest thing around. And we heard Fast as a Shark, we're like, wow. Then he's like, well, this band Raven is playing at Metro, and band Metallica's opening. None of us knew where Metallica was, and let's see Raven, and Metallica played, and it was just like, wow. Step back, and it's like we saw the future in front of us right then and there. It was like bluntly in our face. It was like, this is what is happening, and this is incredible. It was really mind blowing seeing them that first tour, the Kill 'Em All tour. Goodness.
Yeah, wow.
Legendary tour, yeah. Absolutely.
Then everybody wanted to play like that, and it's just then we got a lot of thrash bands in Chicago. It was a really good thrash punk scene.
Yeah. I just saw there's a festival in Chicago called Cultivate, and it's like a marijuana themed festival. I just saw this stuff, and the lineup is massive. So obviously they got a lot of full throttle sponsorships going on this thing, but I mean, it's like a massive lineup of rock, metal, a little bit of punk, reggae. Hell, I think they got some rap and hip hop mixed in there as well. But like Graveyard's coming over from Sweden and all kinds of stuff. And it's like a 3-day set in Chicago. It's called Cultivate.
Never
free ever. I know. I never heard of it until yesterday.
Okay.
And then Brant Bjorn's
you got a day head start on me. That's good.
Yeah. Wow. So I mean, I'm glad I could inform you of something here. But it really, really fascinating concept, and I think it's like in the city too. It's a place called the Nursery.
There's a lot of festivals and parks and shit here now. It's really cool. I mean, so many bands are playing. Like we got a street fair like 4 blocks from my house where X is gonna be playing this summer. I'm like, whoa,
wow, he's still around, huh?
Wow. Yeah, wow. I mean, just stuff like that. So there's a lot going on here. I mean, Lollapalooza every year, which now is just for the kids, but it's huge. I mean, instead of touring, they just have this giant 4-day fest in Chicago.
Yeah.
Let's make it easier. And Riot Fest, they have the thing here every year, and it's huge. So it's easier to tour from touring around the States. Just pick a central location and just play. It's like Europe, the same thing. You're playing the festivals and touring. It's just really hard to do.
Well, yeah, as you're getting older, it's difficult too, obviously.
Well, not just financially. Bands
financially, that's true. You're right. Yes, that's right. Logistics.
I'm older. What else are we going to do,
That's true. Yeah. Good point. Well, Ron, so I did see Legions of Doom. I believe I did read that you guys are going to also line up some more dates than what you already have going on right now. Is that correct?
Atlanta in November.
Okay,
there's a festival in Atlanta that is going to be pretty damn cool.
Mm-hmm. And that's the Mass Destruction Fest.
Yes, Mass Destruction. Thank you. I should have had it in front of me, but since I'm looking at the computer, I can't do it. Oh, there we go.
Okay, it's right there. We got it right there for you. There we go.
Don't miss it.
Yeah. So I mean, so you said you got the new records lined up now for both bands. So I mean, are you gonna? Is it gonna be going forward? Are both bands gonna exist, or is Legions of Doom more of a celebratory thing, and you're gonna keep the Skull going? I mean, do you even have any idea what's going on? You're just gonna kind of take it as how it, basically, I guess how it comes.
I never know what's going on. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. But no. We're definitely, both bands are gonna exist because demand is there. I thought the Skull was over, but people still want to hear it, and they want to hear them songs. And Lothar and I wrote some cool, heavy songs, but Karl singing them, it's pretty cool, and people want to hear it. So we're gonna do both bands until they don't want to hear us anymore.
Very
Then
cool.
I'll go raise goats and chickens and shit like that.
Awesome, man. Well, Ron, so where should we now send the listeners and viewers to just keep up with Legions of Doom, the Skull, and just everything you got going on? What's the best place for everyone to keep up, or to buy some merch and all that good stuff? Too?
The Facebook thing is probably the best one. The Skull and the Legions of Doom.
Okay.
On Facebook, and we're gonna branch off everything from there. We're gonna eventually get the online store and have all the merch and all that stuff. It's like a bunch of old guys that ain't that hip with computers and shit like that. So we gotta get money and hire the youngins who can do it for us. So once we get that rolling, but the Skull and Legions of Doom on Facebook is where everything goes through.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, John, anything else you got for Ron before we wrap this up, man?
Nah, just great seeing you as always, man. Look forward to hopefully getting the catch Legion to Doom at some point in time. So
We'll be on the West Coast eventually.
Keep
I
me
mean,
posted.
I'll be hitting to Vegas as soon as I can because I need to go to a Raider game.
Nice.
yeah, there you go. You let me know if you're coming to town.
I
For
will.
sure. I'll go to. I haven't even been to that stadium yet. So
It's a beautiful stadium. It's like
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Cool.
looks
wish the
like
team was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that quarterback
Yeah.
situation this year, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm a Raider fan too myself these
Oh,
days.
cool,
so,
cool, man.
Yeah. So let's hope he's healthy. That Jimmy G.
It's not sound so good lately.
The
with
rookie's
Garoppolo.
gonna be good, man.
You think so, Aiden?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right, man. I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I hope they're pretty good too. They're
Yeah.
now my second team / third team. So I'm a Cowboys fan. So that's been my team forever.
Yeah.
And
Go Dax.
that's a lot of. I like Dax. I want him to do so good.
This is their year, man.
It could
Every
be.
year. Every year's there. Yeah.
We got a good defense. We
Yeah.
got an amazing defense. So that's
Great.
what hopefully makes things happen here. So, well, man, safe travels over to Europe. Have
Thank
some
you
fun
very
over
much.
there, man.
Quick one.